Thank you very much, Lana. Um, I'm going to try to be as brief as possible because I think the topic is a little bit broad. So last week, Lamin and his family actually attended a conference that we organized in Newtown, and that was about safer streets, no to guns and crimes, and Mohammed was there as well. We had the Assistant Crime Commissioner of Police, we had a senior surgeon from London Met, and we had a university lecturer, and fortunately those two are Gambians. Then we had a safeguarding head of social services from Birmingham City Council. And these people were actually talking about how to become a good citizen. So a good citizen doesn't have anything to do with your religion. But as Muslims, if we bring it back to the Quran, it actually says you owe a responsibility to your children to bring them up in an orderly manner. And then it states how to bring a child up. When you bring a child up according to Islam, they become a good citizen. It means you respect where you live. And in England, like Lamin said, it's a secular state. It is not actually saying to us, do not practice your Islamic religion. What we're saying is be safe with everybody else. So how do we then bring our children up in Islam and then have them commit crimes that then turn around and get locked up in jail? So I don't know if anyone here has ever visited somebody in prison. Sometimes they get one close for a whole month. One. Now, Islam tells us we have to clean ourselves. Even to do your salah, you have to do wudu 5 times a day, or depending if you're doing extra prayers. Now, how can you be in a prison and actually practice your religion? It's one of the most difficult things to do. But we need to try and avoid these kinds of things. Prison might be the safer thing for some of our children. Some of them die because of certain mistakes. I think not just the children's mistakes, but it's the parents' mistakes. Because we were talking downstairs. Sometimes we put children together and we talk to them a lot. There's too many information going around. They kick off because we're trying to put Deen in them. They go out and the streets is putting something else in them. How do we put that balance in? They live in England. It is not a Muslim state. It is a secular state. How do you live in that community and be safe and still practice your religion, and that doesn't affect the way of life that you have at home? You don't have to go out, because a lot of times I see people, they're like, oh, Ms. Zainab, you don't really wear a full hijab, so you're not a proper Muslim. We say these things to each other, and how do you think then somebody who doesn't believe in our religion, how do they treat us? I'm thinking, bring it back to the home. We as parents need to learn first and understand our children, then put them in the right direction, and that way we'll be able to get the job that we have been tasked by God as parents. We can get it right. Now, I think that the Semitic community, well, the Gambia Semitic community, if I'm right, Mohammed, you can correct me if I'm not saying this. What they're trying to say and get this message out to the community is they actually not here to force everybody to be a Muslim. What they want is to invite people, but then more of Muslims, to invite them to come in and share the culture that we're bringing back from home. Because I think that a lot of the cultures are very similar. A lot of them are very similar. We might have some differences from somebody from Egypt, somebody from Saudi Arabia, somebody from Yemen, someone from Pakistan, and somebody from Gambia or Nigeria. Certain cultures are different, but when we bring it back to the teachings that we learn in Islam, we can share certain cultures, because it all comes from hadith, isn't it? Most of our culture is from our teachings. Now, we're here in this country. What do we do to make sure that we abide by the laws and our children abide by the laws? I've had people, when I was in teaching in the prison, they'll say to me, oh, well, there's a lot of infidels in the country, and they want to justify receiving benefits. Now, remember, when you receive benefits in this country, it is coming from tax from a lot of people, and some of these money that is being taxed come from alcohol, and we do very happily receive that benefit and call it our own money. So we think we're doing good from money that might not be halal. But because the state takes it as something that you are entitled to, we take it, right? But do we sit down in one place and decide, oh, well, Lamin's going to go to work, he'll pay his taxes. I don't need to go to work because I live in England, I'm going to get free money. Is that the teachings that we're going to carry on for our children? So they grow up, you live in the family, you don't work, a child wakes up in the morning and sees the mom and dad don't work. You think that child's going to ever find a job? They will not find a job because it's free money. Now, when they see their friends having some things that they cannot afford from home, where do you think they're going to get it from? They're going to get it from the streets. Now, this is where I think it's very important. And we were talking about having some workshops to try and train parents on watching out for gang initiations and children who are being groomed from the outside. It could be a boy, it could be a girl. Now, many a times when we talk, everyone's like, oh, the boys are part of gangs. I can tell you, a lot of girls are part of gangs. And they're not being used the same way the boys are being used. The girls are being used to hide knives. They hide knives. They hide guns. They hide drugs. Because we are pretty. Nobody thinks we're bad, isn't it? A small girl, 16, 17-year-old, she's nicely walking around in the street, dressed up in her hijab. Would you ever think that she is part of a gang? She could very well have been initiated into a gang to hide that, and she would be keeping guns, knives, and drugs for the criminals, who we see as men. Right, so I think the workshop that we need to start is how to identify when a child's life is changing in your home. Because sometimes when you speak to your children and they start to kick off, you wonder, what is happening with my child? Right, they're growing up, we teach them from home, they go to school, they get a different teaching, but sometimes the schools we think are the problem, it's not. It's from school to home. Anything can happen in that journey. It could be 10 minutes, it could be 15 minutes. Your son could go, or daughter, on the same bus every single day, and I'll be sitting on the bus and Mohammed's sitting on the bus, and he sees me every single day. I'm sitting there reading my book, so he knows, well, this girl's interested in her book, right? And he starts to chat with me, and then I'll say hello to him, and that's how it starts. We build a relationship. He's not interested in becoming my boyfriend. He's interested in what I can hide in my bag and take it to my parents' home to hide it in there for him. So when the police raids his house, they don't find anything there, but his stuff is in my house. Now, if I'm the good girl who prays and does everything that my parents tell me, they will never search me. Even when the police knock on the door, you will never believe your daughters are involved in these things, but they are. So last week, what did we say? Search your children's rooms. You need to search your children's rooms. Sometimes you'll be surprised what they have in there. A nice friend can easily say to your child, there's a little bag, can you hold it for me? You have no idea what is in that bag. It could very well be a knife that has been used to stab somebody, and they're trying to hide the evidence. Because your child is the quiet one. They see them finish school, go to madrasa, go to the mosque with their parents, go back home, nicely sitting down watching TV or playing games. That weapon could be in your house and you have no idea. When the police knock, that child is going to jail. That child is going to jail because they will be done for an association. And they have nothing to do with it. Imagine if your child actually put their hand on the knife. Isn't that a fingerprint on it? They would have never done any crime. But when they go to court, police test these things, your kid could end up being in jail. And that changes. So people go to jail. Sometimes they might have stolen a pair of trainers from a shop. Just the one time because their friends say to them, do you dare go and do it? And they're like, yeah, I'm the tough guy. I'll go and steal the trainers. They steal the trainers. They get locked for 3 months. Lock up in jail for 3 months can change somebody else's life. You are locked up in with people who have been in gangs for a long time. You could be locked up with people who have murdered a number of people, people who have stabbed a lot of people, or people who sell drugs. And if you're locked up in the same room, you could spend 23 hours a day with that person. They teach you everything. They could teach you a lot of things. and then they make it so easy because you go home. Say, for example, do you get pocket money? How much? Come on, don't be shy. A couple of pounds, right? How old are you? 14? 18. Right, he's 18. He gets a couple of pounds pocket money. Say, for example, £10. Right? Just buy a few things and the £10 is finished. Right? Now, if you met me and I say to you, don't tell your parents, I'll give you 50 every week. Doesn't that sound nice? Yeah. How many of us would say yes? Yeah, a lot of us will. See, a lot of us would say yes. But do you know what you're saying yes to? Do you know what you're saying yes to? You have no idea what you're saying yes to. I'll give you something to transport. Can you give this to Uncle Mohammed for me? You think I am just telling you to give that balloon to Uncle Mohammed. The next day I give you another balloon. The next day I give you a bag, but I tell you not to open it. I'm going to give you £100. So you've got £100 in your pocket. Your parents don't know. They have no idea because they didn't check your room. They didn't check your bag. They've not checked anything. You went, you gave it to Uncle Mohammed. Your fingerprints are on that bag, right? You've given it. If the police get hold of you, what do you say? Auntie gave it to me. You think Auntie's going to say she knows you? She is never going to say she knows you. No, because Auntie's got no business with a little child like you. Her hands are clean. Your hands are on that. So you need to explain. And if you don't explain and you're 18 years old, what does it look like? It is your property. If it's a little child, then yeah, we'll know somebody gave it. Right? The kid might be very scared to say that I gave it to him. An 18-year-old is a totally different story. Even a 16-year-old, a totally different story altogether. So I'm thinking now we need to give the chance to the community. Bring it back into here. They're welcoming you. What they want is for people to come to share and make this a safer place, but teach our children how to be good citizens, not just Muslims, but how to be good Muslims and good British citizens. Thank you. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? What we can do together, because I've been teaching for 11 years, so yeah. And we can do a lot of things together. So sometimes you think the teacher knows everything. The students can teach the teacher certain things that they don't know. So yeah, or maybe if you tell Lamin and Mohammed and we can decide what we want to do, then we'll lead on that. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. There's a lot of them that needs to hear this message. Inshallah, we'll organize one of this.